Alex Eala sends the defending champion to an early exit in Washington.
One game away from elimination. Down 1-5 in the second set against a defending champion. People in the stadium were already grabbing their bags, walking toward the exits, phones going dark, conversations turning to parking and traffic.
Incredible.
This is exactly where Alex Eala's night was supposed to end. It didn't. What happened next turned a routine loss into one of the biggest comebacks of the whole tournament. By the end of it, the defending champion was the one packing her bags. Here's exactly how it happened. By this point, Alex Eala wasn't just another name in the draw. Filipino flags were everywhere all week. In the stands, on shirts, on handmade signs. Whole families had planned their week around watching her play. Some drove for hours just to be there. She had become the story of this tournament. Not because people expected her to win, because nobody knew what she'd do next. 2 days earlier, she'd already done something big. She came back from a set down to beat Olympic gold medalist Zheng Qinwen. Final score, 4-6, 6-4, 6-1. That match took over 2.5 hours. Zheng had won Olympic gold in Paris. She wasn't some easy first-round name. That match showed Eala could fight through adversity once. Now she had to do it again, almost immediately. No rest, no easy draw. Just the next test, straight away. And this next test had a name everyone in that stadium already knew. Her next opponent was Leylah Fernandez, the defending champion of this exact tournament, the same player who beat her back in April. Stuttgart, on clay, straight sets, 6-1, 6-4. That loss never got settled. It just sat there, waiting. A loss on clay in April means very little on hard courts in July. Everyone around this tournament knew that. The Eala walking out tonight was a different player. There was also a tactical wrinkle nobody talked about. Both players are left-handed. Both use two-handed backhands. That erases the usual advantage in most matchups. No favorable forehand-to-backhand matchup for either side. Most matches have a built-in weak wing to attack. This one didn't. This one would come down to execution, not matchups on paper. Whoever served better under pressure. Whoever took the ball earlier. Whoever handled the biggest points with the steadiest hands. That's what this match was always going to be decided by. And remember who Fernandez really is. At 19 years old, ranked outside the top 70, she did something historic. She beat 3 top 5 seeds in a row at one Grand Slam. Defending champion Naomi Osaka, gone. Former champion Angelique Kerber, gone. World number 5 Elina Svitolina, gone. Then world number 2 Aryna Sabalenka, gone too. That run took her to the 2021 US Open final. She was the youngest woman to beat multiple top 5 opponents at a major in over 2 decades. This is not a player who panics under pressure. This is a player who built her whole career on the opposite. She has made a habit of doing her best work when everyone expects her to fold. So when the draw put these two together again, it wasn't just another match. It was unfinished business. The first set gave no hint of what was coming. Eala took control early, moved Fernandez side to side, closed it out 6-2, clean, comfortable. Exactly what you'd expect from someone who just beat an Olympic champion. Then the second set started. And everything changed. Fernandez got sharper, faster, more aggressive at the net. She started reading Eala's shots before they landed. Every game Eala won started costing more. Longer rallies, heavier legs, more second-guessing. The score kept sliding. 1 game became 2. 2 became 3, then 4, then 5. 5 games to 1. Read that again, because the rest of this story depends on that number. 1 set away from a decider, against a former Grand Slam finalist who had just found her rhythm, at exactly the wrong moment for her opponent. If you were watching from home, you already thought you knew the ending. And here's the honest part. Eala admitted it herself afterward. She told Renee Stubbs that her level dropped in that stretch. She said Fernandez started playing better, and her own game dipped with it. She also mentioned the wind. Conditions were tricky all match. Her exact words, "It was definitely a factor, but something she couldn't control, so no point dwelling on it." Her exact words about the slump itself, those are the tricky moments. When you know your level has dropped, and you're trying to fix it, and it isn't quite coming together yet. That's not a polished, made-for-highlights quote. That's the honest truth of being down 1-5 against a defending champion. But here's what happened next. This is the part that turns a routine result into a real story. She didn't fold. Down 1-5, facing a very real third set, Eala held her next service game. Not spectacularly, just solidly. 5-2. Then she pushed on Fernandez's next service game. Chipped away, point by point, until she broke through. 5-3. Then she held again. 5-4. Something changed in that stadium right around here. The crowd that had gone quiet came back to life. The Filipino sections found their voice again. Louder with every single point Eala won. Like they could feel the shift before the scoreboard caught up. You could see it in small things. The way Eala's shoulders stayed loose between points. The way she didn't rush her serve routine, even down in the score. Small signals, but they add up over a set. Fernandez served for the set at 5-4. Trying to close it out, trying to force a third set. She couldn't. Eala broke through again. 5-5. 2 games away from a finished match 15 minutes earlier. Now it was a dead-even fight. Both players held from there. 6-6. A tiebreak after all of that. Here's the thing about a tiebreak after a swing that big. The momentum had already changed hands before it even started. Fernandez had spent everything clawing back to 5-1, then watched it slip away. Eala had just proven something to herself under real pressure. The deficit didn't matter. The tiebreak wasn't close. Eala took the first 2 points, then the next. Her returns landed deep and heavy. Fernandez's first serve started missing under all that pressure. Her feet looked a step slower than they had 10 minutes earlier. No single highlight reel winner needed to seal it. Just clean point after clean point. Final tiebreak score, 7-1. Final match score, 6-2, 7-6. Defending champion eliminated. The stadium didn't just clap, it roared. Thousands of people who'd watched the whole swing, from 5-1 down to this exact point, all at once. Head-to-head with Fernandez now level, 1 win each. Stuttgart finally answered. When it ended, there was no dramatic collapse to the court. No screaming into the night. Eala walked to the net, shook Fernandez's hand. Same calm expression she wore from the very first point. That composure matters. This wasn't her first comeback of the week either. 2 days earlier against Zheng, she did almost the same thing. Lost a set, ground her way back, won anyway. Afterward, she gave Fernandez full credit. Said Fernandez had put her in some genuinely tough spots. Said she was proud of how she fought and stayed in it. No excuses, no bragging, just an honest account of a hard match she found a way to win. That kind of honesty is rare from a 21-year-old in the middle of a breakout run. A lot of players her age would lean on the highlight, skip the hard parts. She did the opposite. She named the hard parts directly. Then let the scoreboard speak for itself. News of the result moved fast across the tennis world. Beating an Olympic medalist and a defending champion. In the same week. On a surface she was still adjusting to. That's the kind of stretch that gets a young player's name mentioned in new rooms. Not because of one big win. Because of 2, back-to-back, under 2 completely different kinds of pressure. People who track this sport closely know that's rare. Most players get 1 signature win a season, if they're lucky. Eala just collected 2 in 3 days. Now here's why this matters beyond one scoreline. 2 wins like this, in 1 week, on hard courts she barely competed on before this tournament. That's not luck compounding. That's a pattern. Eala arrived in Washington at a career-high ranking of 28. She had almost nothing to defend coming in, which means almost everything she earns this week is pure gain. These 2 wins add real weight to her Wimbledon breakthrough, where she became the first Filipino to reach the 2nd week of a Grand Slam. That wasn't a one-tournament story. It's starting to look like a pattern. She now moves on to face the winner of Svitolina versus Kudermetova. Either path is tough. Svitolina is a former world number 3. She has a track record of shutting down exactly this kind of aggressive game. She's calm, experienced, and hard to rattle. Kudermetova is different. Unseeded, nothing to lose. Dangerous in her own way. Players with nothing to lose often play their most fearless tennis. Whoever it is, they're walking into a player who has proven twice this week. A rough patch mid-match doesn't rattle her. If anything, that's when she gets more dangerous. There's a bigger number worth knowing too. Eala is sitting right around the cutoff line for US Open seeding. Every round here in Washington pushes her further from that edge. Closer to becoming the first Filipina ever seeded at a Grand Slam. Most casual fans aren't tracking that number. But it's exactly why this quarterfinal run means more than it looks like. A seed at a slam isn't just a number next to a name. It's protection. It means the draw can't hand her a top 16 opponent in the first 2 rounds. That opens a path deeper into a tournament than she's ever had before. 3 more tournaments stand between here and that deadline. Every match between now and then carries that same quiet weight. For Fernandez, this loss stings in a specific way. She opened her title defense strong. Beat Magda Linette in round 1 easily. Looked every bit like a champion ready to run it back. Losing from 5-1 up in the 2nd set is the kind of result that lingers. The kind that follows a competitor around for a few weeks. It's the kind of scoreline that gets replayed in your head at night. She heads to Toronto next, carrying this with her. Needing to prove this was a one-off, not a sign of where her season is going. A defending champion doesn't get many chances to answer a loss like that quickly. Toronto is exactly that chance. But this isn't really a story about Fernandez losing. It's a story about what Eala does when a match stops going her way. Because here's the pattern building across this whole week. Down a set to Zheng, she found her way back. Down 1-5 to a defending champion, she found her way back again. Twice, in the same tournament, against completely different opponents, in completely different situations. She answered adversity with composure instead of panic. That's an incredibly hard quality to fake. An even harder one to coach into someone. You can teach footwork. You can teach a better second serve. You cannot easily teach someone to stay still inside their own head, while an entire stadium assumes they're finished. While the scoreboard is screaming the opposite of what you believe. Either a player has it, or they spend years building toward having it. Usually through losses nobody ever writes an article about. Quiet practice courts. Empty stands. Nobody watching. Right now, at 21 years old, ranked a career-high 28 in the world, Alex Eala looks like a player who has it. Remember where this version of her came from. 12 months ago she was ranked outside the top 140. Nobody outside hardcore tennis circles knew her name back then. That climb to a career high inside the top 30 didn't happen in one lucky week. It happened through weeks exactly like this one. A win here. A gutsy 3-setter there, slowly, one tournament at a time. Repeated often enough that it stopped being a surprise. And started being who she is. This year alone she's already beaten a defending Wimbledon champion. She reached the 4th round there, the first Filipino ever to do that at a slam. Before that, a title run in Birmingham. A big win over Elina in Berlin. Now an Olympic gold medalist and a defending WTA champion, in the same week. That's not a hot streak anymore, that's a resume. the road ahead doesn't get easier. Toronto and Cincinnati still stand between here and the US Open. 3 tournaments, 1 long American summer. Every match from here is against players who take her completely seriously now. No exceptions. No easy first rounds left on her schedule this year. Every opponent from here has studied this week's footage already. But if this week in Washington proved anything, it's this. Being down on the scoreboard against a good player, that's no longer a sign the match is over. For Alex Eala, right now, it might just be the setup. The moment right before she takes over. 2 matches, 2 deficits, 2 comebacks. At some point that stops looking like luck, and starts looking like who she is. Her opponents are taking notice. So is the rest of the tour. If you want to follow this run, from Washington to Toronto to Cincinnati to the US Open, subscribe. This is turning into one of the best stories in tennis this year. Now I want to hear from you. Do you think Alex Eala can keep this run going into the quarterfinals? Drop your prediction in the comments. Twice in 1 week, everyone in that stadium thought they knew how the story would end. Twice, they were wrong.